This Diddy trial just took a turn no one saw coming. Yep.
If the prosecutor can't find this witness, how might it affect the case?
Look, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous effect.
You heard right. One of the key accusers, known as Victim 3, has gone completely off the grid just when things are about to get heated in the courtroom. The streets are talking, the media's in overdrive, lawyers are scrambling, and Diddy's whole future hangs in the balance. Whatever is going on behind the scenes is bigger than anyone expected. So brace yourself, because this isn't just tea, it is a full-on explosion. The disappearance that shook the courtroom. Now, if you've been living under a rock or just haven't been keeping up with your socials, let me catch you up real quick. The music mogul once known as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, or just Diddy, is facing some serious federal charges right now. We're talking racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, charges that could literally put him behind bars for life. The trial just kicked off with jury selection on May 5th, 2025, at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in New York City, with opening statements scheduled for today, May 12th. Judge Arun Subramanian is presiding over what was already shaping up to be one of the most high-profile celebrity cases in years. But here's where things get crazy. On May 7th, just as jury selection was underway, the lead prosecutor, Maureen Comey, yes, that's former FBI Director James Comey's daughter, the plot thickens, dropped a bombshell on the court. She informed Judge Subramanian that the prosecution was struggling to locate a key witness referred to as Victim 3 Inches and had been unable to contact her attorney. This wasn't just any witness, fam. This was someone the prosecution was heavily counting on. According to court filings, Victim 3 was expected to provide what insiders described as very personal and explosive details about the alleged abuse she suffered at the hands of Diddy. By May 9th, the situation had gotten even more dire. Prosecutors still couldn't find Victim 3, with Comey telling the court that even if they did reestablish contact, there was uncertainty about whether she would appear in court. "We do not know whether she intends to appear," Comey said, "and we are trying very hard to find out because we're having trouble communicating with her counsel. Y'all, this is major." Legal expert John J. Pearlstein didn't mince words when he said that the disappearance of a key victim at trial is crippling for the prosecution. That's how serious this situation is. Now let's break down who this Victim 3 actually is and why her testimony was so crucial. The indictment names 4 alleged victims in total. Victim 1, who we know as Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend. Victim 2, Victim 3, and Victim 4. Unlike Ventura, who will testify under her real name, and Victims 2 and 4, who are using pseudonyms, Victim 3 had initially expressed willingness to testify without a pseudonym. This is huge because it shows she was initially ready to put her face and name to these serious allegations. What makes this even more significant is that Victim 3's allegations were central to a third superseding indictment filed in April 2025, which added charges of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution specifically tied to her. Prosecutors stated that Victim 3 was expected to testify about how Diddy coerced her into sexual acts and sexually exploited her. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos has described Victim 3 as someone who was around Diddy for a long time, and her non-local status, meaning she doesn't live in New York where the trial is being held, has complicated efforts to secure her testimony. The timing couldn't be worse for the prosecution. This bombshell dropped during jury selection, with opening statements scheduled for today, May 12th. The defense team, led by attorneys Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, immediately pounced on this development. Garagos demanded a decision by the end of the week on whether Victim 3 would testify, arguing that her absence would require the defense to completely reorient their strategy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this just some dramatic situation blown out of proportion? Is the trial really in chaos? Well, let me keep it 100 with you. This is not exaggerated at all. The disappearance of Victim 3 has genuinely thrown the trial into disarray. The defense is already suggesting that the prosecution's case has been weakened, potentially providing grounds for a mistrial or delay. Judge Subramanian granted a request to delay finalizing jury selection until May 12th, citing concerns that jurors might get cold feet over the weekend. The drama is so real that it sparked widespread speculation on platforms like X, with some users drawing parallels to high-profile cases like Jeffrey Epstein's, suggesting foul play or witness tampering. Now, to be clear, prosecutors have stated that Victim 3's absence is due to personal reasons, and there is no evidence in the sources to suggest Diddy was involved in her disappearance. We have to be responsible here and not spread unfounded rumors. But still, this development has got legal experts, media outlets, and social media buzzing. It's not just about one missing witness, it's about what this could mean for the entire case against one of hip-hop's most powerful figures. Now, before we dive into what this means for the prosecution and defense moving forward, let's take a quick break to explain the background of this case and why it's such a big deal. The allegations and charges against hip-hop's fallen king. To really understand why this missing witness is such a big deal, we need to break down the serious allegations against the hip-hop mogul. Let's take it back and set the scene. Diddy has been a titan in the music industry since the 90s. From founding Bad Boy Records to his fashion lines, vodka brands, and media ventures, he's built an empire worth hundreds of millions. He was once untouchable, partying with the elite, dating celebrities, and mentoring some of the biggest names in the game.
You gonna hear about my party, they're gonna be shutting them down, they're gonna probably be arresting me, doing all types of crazy things just because we wanna have a good time.
But behind the glitz and glamour, prosecutors allege there was a much darker reality. The federal indictment charges Combs with 5 serious counts, including racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
The allegations are disturbing, y'all. Prosecutors claim that Diddy operated his business empire as a criminal enterprise, engaging in crimes such as sex trafficking, kidnapping, arson, and bribery. The earliest allegations date back to 2004, meaning we're talking about a pattern of alleged abuse spanning nearly 2 decades.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs.
At the center of these allegations are what prosecutors call freak-offs, elaborate days-long sex performances where women were allegedly forced into sexual acts with male sex workers, often under the influence of drugs. Prosecutors claim that Diddy recorded these events without consent and used the recordings as blackmail to ensure victims' silence.
The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time, involved multiple commercial sex workers, and often involved a variety of narcotics, such as ketamine, ecstasy, and GHB, which Combs distributed to the victims to keep them obedient and compliant.
Additional allegations include physical violence, blackmail, and threats to silence victims. The indictment suggests Diddy used his wealth, fame, and influence to coerce and abuse women for years, creating a culture of fear around him that prevented victims from speaking out.
As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges, and his defense team has a completely different take. They argue that the relationships were consensual, describing them as part of a swinger lifestyle. The defense has even admitted to mutual violence in Combs' relationship with Cassie Ventura, a strategy that legal experts describe as risky due to potential juror backlash against what could be perceived as victim blaming. The trial has attracted massive media attention due to Diddy's status and the severity of the allegations, which were amplified by a 2023 civil lawsuit from his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Cassie Ventura. Ventura's lawsuit, which was settled quickly, alleged years of physical abuse and rape. And then there's the video, a 2016 hotel surveillance video published by CNN showing Combs assaulting Ventura in a hotel hallway has become a key piece of evidence. The footage shows him kicking, dragging, and throwing objects at her, visual evidence that prosecutors say supports the broader pattern of abuse alleged in the indictment. Prosecutors even allege that Combs paid hotel security $100,000 to suppress this footage, demonstrating efforts to cover up abusive behavior. This is just one case among many. Since November 2023, more than 70 civil lawsuits have been filed against Combs, with Texas attorney Tony Busby announcing that he represents over 120 accusers, with allegations spanning 20 years.
After vetting, we now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities.
These include claims of sexual assault, rape, and abuse of minors, with some victims allegedly as young as 9.
Our youngest victim at the time of the occurrence was 9 years old. We have an individual who was 14 years old. We have one who was 15. 25 of the 120 individuals who are plaintiffs in these cases were minors at the time of the acts complained of.
Busby alleged that victims were often drugged with substances like xylazine, a horse tranquilizer, and pressured to sign NDAs. He claimed Combs' associates facilitated abuse and silenced victims through threats and career sabotage.
Drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine, or trank, which, based on our research, is known as a horse tranquilizer.
Several specific cases highlight the pattern of alleged abuse and silencing, including the case of a woman who alleged that at age 13, she was drugged and raped by Combs and two celebrities at an after-party for the 2000 Video Music Awards. She was allegedly forced to sign an NDA and felt too intimidated to speak out until recently. An anonymous man claimed he was drugged and sexually assaulted by Combs at a 2007 white party, leading to his blacklisting from the security industry after reporting the assault to his supervisor. Brianna Bongolan alleged Combs dangled her over a 17-story balcony in Cassie's apartment, an incident that mirrors allegations in a January 2025 superseding indictment. Producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones filed a lawsuit alleging Combs ran a racketeering enterprise, forcing him to procure drugs and sex workers. Jones claimed Combs used recordings and career threats to silence him. The federal case has evolved significantly since Combs' arrest in September 2024. By January 2025, prosecutors had filed superseding indictments that added more victims and extended the conspiracy timeline to 2004. They allege Combs assaulted employees and witnesses, used narcotics like methamphetamine and ketamine to control victims, and engaged in witness tampering by contacting accusers to feed them false narratives. In fact, prosecutors have cited Combs' history of contacting victims and witnesses as a reason for denying bail 3 times, arguing he posed a significant risk to the trial. There have even been reports of Combs' jail cell being raided due to concerns about witness tampering. This is not just about a celebrity trying to defend his name or control the headlines. It is about a man who, for decades, has allegedly used his power, wealth, and reach to silence anyone who posed a threat to his carefully maintained image. The courts have officially described him as a significant risk to the trial, and that is not an exaggeration. That is a statement backed by years of reported behavior, legal patterns, and a long trail of unsettling incidents. One of the most recent examples is Cassie Ventura, the singer and model who spent nearly 10 years in a relationship with Combs. In her 2023 lawsuit, she detailed experiences of rape, physical abuse, trafficking, and being forced into sex with male escorts while Combs filmed. A fact one of these male escorts would corroborate.
I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would do with Cassie.
It was a horrifying account of long-term control and exploitation, and yet the most telling part might be what happened after she filed the suit. Within 24 hours, it was settled. No drawn-out court battle, no public defense, no detailed refutation, just silence bought with a quick settlement, which only made people question how many other stories had been buried the same way. Then came Rodney Jones, also known as Lil Rod, a producer who worked closely with Diddy and later accused him of running a widespread sex trafficking operation.
I won't be that guy 20, 30 years from now, looking back saying, I wish I'd done this. I'm gonna do this now. Doing this situation is not easy. Taking Puff to court, suing him is not easy.
His lawsuit, filed in early 2024, was not vague or speculative. It included names, dates, specific events, and disturbing claims of drugging, threats, and assault. He stated that Combs used fear, manipulation, and force to control both his image and the people around him. These were not tabloid rumors. These were legal claims backed by an ongoing federal investigation. This pattern of silencing is not new. Years ago, Tupac Shakur accused Diddy and his bad boy circle of being behind the 1994 Quad Studios shooting, the same attack that left Tupac wounded and deeply paranoid.
So do you think Puffy was involved in the shooting?
Only they can answer that question. I have my own opinion, but I wouldn't slander their name like they did mine. I wouldn't say things that I knew, you know what I mean? I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him.
Though Diddy was never charged, the incident marked the start of a bitter East Coast and West Coast rivalry. Just 2 years later, Tupac was murdered in Las Vegas. That case remains unsolved to this day, but many have never stopped wondering about the people who had the most to gain from his silence. Then there is Kim Porter, the mother of 3 of Combs' children, and a woman who, according to reports, was planning to write a tell-all book about her relationship with him. In 2018, she suddenly passed away from what was labeled pneumonia. But Al B., sure, her ex and the biological father of Quincy Brown, has publicly claimed he believes Kim was murdered. While no charges were filed and no official link was made, the eerie timing and her knowledge of Combs' private life have left a lasting cloud of suspicion. So when prosecutors argue that Sean Combs poses a threat to witnesses and victims, they are not being paranoid or dramatic. They are looking at decades of patterns, whispers, settlements, and stories that always seem to disappear before reaching the courtroom. Now, with all this context, you can see why the disappearance of Victim 3 is such a massive blow to the prosecution. Her testimony was expected to provide explosive details about her allegations, which could have corroborated the broader pattern of abuse alleged by the prosecution. Without her, the prosecution may struggle to prove specific charges tied to her, particularly the additional charges in the third superseding indictment. But the prosecution isn't completely out of options. In a surprise move on May 9, 2025, prosecutors announced plans to call a victim 5 inches to testify about an uncharged act of sexual misconduct by Combs. This move was not disclosed in prior filings, catching the defense off guard and potentially compensating for victim 3's absence. The jury selection process itself has been contentious, with over 600 potential jurors screened. By May 9th, 45 candidates were selected to be narrowed to 12 jurors and 6 alternates. Many jurors reported familiarity with the case or personal experiences with sexual abuse, raising concerns about impartiality. But what does victim 3's disappearance really mean for the trial moving forward? How might it affect the chances of conviction? And what can we learn from similar high-profile cases where key witnesses went missing? We're about to find out. The impact and historical comparisons. What happens next? First, let's keep it real about the impact of victim 3's absence on the prosecution's case. Legal experts aren't sugarcoating it. This is a serious blow. Attorney John J. Pearlstein straight up said that the disappearance of a key victim at trial is crippling for the prosecution, particularly for the charges specifically tied to victim 3. Entertainment lawyer Trey Lovell emphasized that victim testimony is the most powerful element in such cases. And with only 3 victims now expected to testify instead of 4, the prosecution's narrative may be weakened. This is especially true given that prosecutors are trying to establish a pattern of abuse spanning 2 decades with just 3 victim witnesses. But it's not all doom and gloom for the prosecution. They still have what many consider their strongest evidence: Cassie Ventura's testimony and that damning 2016 surveillance video showing Diddy physically assaulting her. They also have victims 2 and 4, who are approved to use pseudonyms, and the newly introduced victim 5. The prosecution will likely adjust their strategy by relying more heavily on these remaining witnesses, physical evidence, and corroborating testimony from former employees or associates. They might also introduce circumstantial evidence to compensate for victim 3's absence. For the defense, victim 3's disappearance presents a golden opportunity. Combs' attorneys are reportedly planning to request a mistrial or delay, arguing that the prosecution's inability to produce a key witness undermines the fairness of the trial. Defense attorney Tenny Garagos has already demanded a decision by the end of the week on whether victim 3 will testify, arguing that her absence would require them to reorient their strategy. The defense could also exploit this disappearance to challenge the prosecution's credibility, suggesting that the allegations may be exaggerated or unsubstantiated. They might argue that if victim 3 truly had a strong case, she would have appeared to testify. This brings us to a crucial question. Why did victim 3 disappear? While there's no definitive answer, several possibilities have been floated. First might be fear for her safety. Law enforcement sources have suggested that victim the 3rd of May have gone dark out of concern for her personal safety, especially given Diddy's alleged history of intimidation. There's the reluctance to face public scrutiny. After initially agreeing to testify under her real name, victim the 3rd of May have reconsidered due to the intense media attention and potential public exposure. There's also the possibility of external pressure. Given the allegations of witness tampering in the case, some have speculated about possible intimidation, though prosecutors have attributed her absence to personal reasons without providing specific details. The public and media speculation has been wild, with some users on platforms like X drawing parallels to high-profile cases like Jeffrey Epstein's, suggesting foul play. But it's important to emphasize that there is no evidence in the sources to suggest Diddy was involved in her disappearance, and such speculation should be treated with extreme caution. Now let's talk about the historical context. This isn't the first time a key witness has vanished in a high-profile case. Let's look at some examples that might give us clues about how Diddy's trial could unfold. In the United States v. R. Kelly 2021 racketeering and sex trafficking trial, several victims initially hesitated to testify due to fear of retaliation or public scrutiny. One key witness became unresponsive before the trial, raising concerns about her participation. The prosecution adjusted their strategy, relying on other victims and corroborating evidence, such as testimony from Kelly's former employees and documented communications. They purposely didn't emphasize the missing witness's absence to avoid weakening their case. The outcome? Kelly was convicted on all counts, including racketeering and sex trafficking, in September 2021. This case demonstrates that a strong prosecution with multiple witnesses and solid evidence can overcome the absence of one witness. Another example is the United States versus Joaquin El Chapo Guzman 2018 to 2019 drug trafficking trial. During this trial, a key cooperating witness, a former cartel associate, went missing before testifying. Authorities suspected he had been killed or had fled due to threats from cartel affiliates. The prosecution faced challenges in presenting direct evidence of certain drug trafficking operations tied to the missing witness. They compensated by relying on other cooperators cooperators, wiretap evidence, and seized drug shipments. The defense attempted to argue that the witness's absence indicated a lack of credible evidence. In the end, Guzman was convicted on all counts in February 2019 and received a life sentence. This case shows that extensive evidence from multiple sources can mitigate the impact of a missing witness. On the flip side, in the infamous People v. O.J. Simpson 1995 murder trial, a potential witness who claimed to have seen Simpson near the crime scene became unavailable during the trial, reportedly due to fear of media exposure and harassment. Another witness, a friend of Nicole Brown Simpson, also hesitated to testify fully due to personal safety concerns. The prosecution's case relied heavily on physical evidence and other witnesses, but the absence of these testimonies allowed the defense to cast doubt on the timeline and Simpson's presence at the scene. The defense capitalized on gaps in the prosecution's narrative, and Simpson was acquitted in October 1995. This case highlights how missing witnesses can contribute to reasonable doubt, especially in high-profile trials with intense media scrutiny, something very relevant to Diddy's situation. There's also a broader statistical context. In England and Wales in 2014 to 2015, over 11,000 trials were abandoned due to no-show witnesses, with 800 in Crown courts and 10,600 in magistrates' courts. This led to defendants being acquitted or trials being rescheduled, highlighting the systemic impact of missing witnesses, particularly in cases involving alleged violence or coercion. So what does all this mean for Diddy's trial moving forward? Here are the key takeaways. The prosecution still has a case, but it's weakened. They'll need to rely heavily on the remaining witnesses, especially Cassie Ventura, and the physical evidence, particularly the 2016 surveillance video. The defense has a stronger position and will likely capitalize on victim 3's absence to cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative and possibly push for delays or a mistrial. The jury's perception will be crucial. The prosecution will need to carefully frame victim 3's absence to avoid suggesting weakness in their case, while the defense will likely emphasize it as a significant gap. The trial's timeline could be affected. If the prosecution locates victim 3 after the trial begins, they may request a delay to include her testimony, which could disrupt the schedule. The trial is expected to last 8 to 10 weeks, but this could change depending on how the situation evolves. The long-term implications include potential grounds for appeal if Diddy is convicted, with the defense possibly arguing that victim 3's absence prejudiced the trial, especially if her testimony was referenced in the indictment but not presented. As for speculation about victim 3's whereabouts and whether there was foul play involved, it's important to approach such theories with caution. Prosecutors have attributed her absence to personal reasons, and there is no evidence in the sources to suggest Diddy was involved in her disappearance. The comparison to cases like Epstein's reflects public distrust but is not supported by evidence in this case. The defense is leveraging victim 3's absence to push for delays or a mistrial, while maintaining that the relationships were consensual. The trial, which is expected to last 2 to 3 months, remains a high-stakes legal battle with significant implications for Combs, who faces life in prison if convicted. The situation underscores the complexities of prosecuting high-profile cases involving sensitive allegations and the challenges of securing witness cooperation. As opening statements begin today, May 12, 2025, all eyes will be on how both sides navigate this unexpected development and whether it ultimately affects the outcome of one of the most high-profile celebrity trials in recent years. And with that, we've come to the end of this deep dive. For more juicy content like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the card showing on your screen for more videos. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below. The glitz and glamour of Hollywood often hide the darkest of secrets, but every now and then, the truth begins to unravel. And when it does, it shakes the very core of Tinseltown. Right now, all eyes are on one man, Sean Diddy Combs. After years of flying high in both music and entertainment, a wave of unsettling allegations has come crashing down. Just a while ago, Hollywood's power players sent a chilling warning to Diddy, signaling that the once untouchable mogul might be facing his biggest challenge yet. In this video, we'll unpack the latest developments around Diddy's case, the eerie silence from Hollywood's elite, and the shocking claims that comedian Rosie O'Donnell has just brought to the forefront, accusing Diddy of unthinkable acts. Sit tight, because what we're about to reveal may change everything you thought you knew about one of the most iconic figures in pop culture. Hollywood's warning. The arrest of Sean Diddy Combs feels like a seismic shock in Hollywood, a world that has long been criticized for enabling its stars to live in a bubble of impunity. As a kingpin in the entertainment industry, Diddy's fall from grace exposes the long whispered secrets that many in Hollywood have tried to bury. But this arrest was not just a legal moment. It sparked a wave of reactions, each louder than the next, from the most unexpected corners of the industry. It almost feels like Hollywood has been waiting for this moment, a collective reckoning where those who've lived in fear or frustration are finally saying it's about time. If anyone thinks this is just about Diddy, think again. Hollywood's message is clear. No one is untouchable. Take 50 Cent, for example. If there's one thing we know about him, it's that he loves a good feud, and his long-standing rivalry with Diddy gave him plenty of ammunition. The moment Diddy's arrest hit the news, 50 was all over social media, cracking jokes and sprinkling in just the right amount of sarcasm. He even took shots at the bizarre details that emerged, like the alleged discovery of 1,000 bottles of baby oil in Diddy's home. In this tweet, he mentioned, "Here I am keeping good company with at the Drew Barrymore show, and I don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at the house." Typical 50, right? But behind the humor, his message was serious. In his usual "I told you so" style, 50's reaction underscored what many others feel, that this arrest was a reckoning Diddy had coming for years. It's the kind of mocking that says, this guy's been playing the game too long and now it's caught up with him. 50 Cent, in his way, echoed a sentiment that Hollywood has been hinting at. No matter how powerful, sooner or later, there's a reckoning. But not everyone took the comedic route. Charlamagne Tha God, one of the most respected voices in radio, went straight for the jugular. On The Breakfast Club, Charlamagne didn't mince words. He warned that Diddy's arrest could be the tip of the iceberg, suggesting that others who participated in Diddy's notorious freak-off parties could find themselves under legal scrutiny. Charlamagne's tone was grim. It's almost as if he was delivering a public service announcement. He had racketeering and sex trafficking. If he gets racketeering and sex trafficking for freak-offs, it will be others involved. Like if you ever ran a train with Diddy, you're probably going to jail. If you ever been butt naked anywhere with Diddy, or half butt naked with Diddy, and there was some women around or some men around that he told you were part of the party, you're probably going to jail. His message resonated with the notion that this isn't just a single scandal, it's a potential domino effect. Imagine the sweat breaking out on the brows of others who've lived similarly excessive lives. Could Diddy's arrest mark the beginning of Hollywood's reckoning? Charlamagne seems to think so. Then there's Jemele Hill, a journalist unafraid to speak truth to power. Hill's reaction cut to the heart of the issue, reminding everyone that beneath the glitz and glamour, real victims exist, particularly black women. Hill's plea was for justice for the women who may have suffered in silence due to Diddy's alleged actions. Her words hit a nerve in an industry that often values star power over human dignity. I know everybody's going to get these jokes off about Diddy, and by extension R. Kelly, but think of the numerous black women whose lives were ruined by these horrendous people, Hill wrote on X, formerly Twitter. She further stated, "The narrative is not, another black man got taken down, because this ain't got shit to do with black men as a whole. The narrative is, thank God these women are finally getting the justice they deserve." Her reaction elevates the conversation beyond just celebrity gossip. It's a sobering reminder that there are deeper societal issues at play. But in typical Hollywood fashion, not all reactions were straightforward. Foxy Brown's cryptic social media post added an air of mystery to the situation. If you read between the lines, you might think Foxy was hinting at more bombshells to come. Is there more dirt on Diddy or others that we haven't even begun to unearth? Foxy's post set tongues wagging, and now everyone is wondering what new skeletons could tumble out of Hollywood's closet. Brown's cryptic tone was almost like an omen. Brown took to her Instagram story to write, "About to really get crazy. This is just the beginning." If there's one thing we know about Hollywood scandals, it's that they tend to snowball. Could we be on the brink of more jaw-dropping revelations? Serena Williams, always the voice of reason and justice, took a more measured approach. Serena didn't offer up cryptic warnings or humorous jabs. Instead, she emphasized her hope for a fair outcome in the courtroom. With her status as an international icon and a champion for justice, her words carried weight. "And now I hope justice is finally served," Serena replied to a new post that covered Diddy's arrest. Her reaction reminded us that fame doesn't put anyone above the law. At a time when celebrities often seem immune to consequences, Serena's grounded perspective was refreshing. She wasn't reveling in the downfall of a star. She was reminding us that the law applies to all, even those perched on Hollywood's highest pedestals. Aubrey O'Day, meanwhile, was having a bit of a mic drop moment. Having long spoken out about her troubling experiences with Diddy, O'Day felt a sense of vindication. Her emotional reaction was palpable, almost like a sigh of relief, as if she had been waiting for years for someone to finally listen. The purpose of justice is to provide an ending and allow us the space to create a new chapter. Women never get this. I feel validated. Today is a win for women all over the world, not just me, she wrote. For Aubrey, this wasn't just a news story. It was personal. I never thought I would see this day. We all buried this inside of us in order to be able to keep going, she said. And not just me, but victims you don't even know yet. We are all processing what that type of vindication can actually feel like now. Every conversation I've had with victims last night has been beyond moving on all levels. In a world where so many people in Hollywood suffer in silence, O'Day's validation might give others the courage to come forward with their stories. But in true Hollywood fashion, there's always someone willing to swim against the current. Enter Boozy Badass, who didn't see what all the fuss was about. Downplaying the severity of Diddy's actions, Boosie sparked a fiery debate by claiming on this tweet that what Diddy did wasn't all that different from what other entertainers have done. His controversial take made some fans nod in agreement while others furiously scrolled past. Boosie's reaction reflects a certain segment of Hollywood that still clings to its old ways, unwilling to accept that change is on the horizon. And what a horizon it is. The reactions to Diddy's arrest have set Hollywood abuzz with speculation, gossip, and a fair share of schadenfreude. But this moment is bigger than just one celebrity facing charges. It's a warning shot to the entire entertainment industry. If Diddy, a titan of music and entertainment, can be brought down, who's next? Hollywood, it seems, is cleaning house. The days of stars living unchecked lives are over, or at least they should be. And now, away from the furious yet stern reactions from Hollywood big shots, what other recent developments have come around Diddy's case? Let's find out. Recent developments. P. Diddy's legal saga has become the talk of the entertainment industry, with every new revelation adding more complexity to an already convoluted defense strategy. Imagine being at the center of it. New lawsuits, shocking allegations, and a growing number of accusations that seem to pile on relentlessly. That's the world Diddy, or Sean Combs, finds himself in, and his legal team must feel like they're playing a never-ending game of legal whack-a-mole. Each time they manage to knock one allegation down, another pops up with even more sensational claims. At the heart of the controversy is the explosive documentary, The Downfall of Diddy, which recently premiered on Tubi and is damaging Diddy's reputation more than any tabloid could. This isn't your typical documentary. It was produced by none other than TMZ. Yes, the same outlet famous for breaking celebrity scandals. The film features rare testimonies and alleged first-hand accounts from individuals who were once close to Diddy, including former associates like Aubrey O'Day, Stevie J, and Mark Curry. Even Suge Knight, a figure synonymous with the darker side of the rap industry, makes an appearance, adding fuel to the already blazing fire. It's like everyone is coming out of the woodwork to either take a jab or air out their grievances. The documentary kicks off by tracing Diddy's troubles back to November 2023, when his former romantic partner and protege, Cassie, filed a chilling lawsuit. This lawsuit, laced with allegations of sexual assault and coercion, served as the catalyst for a domino effect of accusations. It's almost as if, once Cassie's story broke, others felt emboldened to share their own, and the floodgates opened wide. For Diddy's legal team, this creates a near impossible situation. How do you build a defense when every week brings a new accuser, a new angle, and fresh details that make your previous strategy obsolete? The most jaw-dropping moment in the downfall of Diddy is perhaps the testimony of Suge Knight himself. Suge Knight, the man who is widely seen as Diddy's rival in the often violent feud between East Coast and West Coast rap labels in the 1990s. Yet here, Suge does something totally unexpected. He shows empathy. My first reaction is not the reaction I thought I would have when it came to Puffy. You know what I mean? I thought it'd be a reaction like he got what he got coming because everybody knows what's been going on. My reaction was actually different because I felt like, damn. The first thing that came to mind was Diddy's children. And the thing is, I feel it's a bad day for hip-hop, a bad day for the culture. It makes us all look bad, said Knight. Yes, Suge showed empathy for Diddy. Knight speaks about the impact the allegations are having on Diddy's children and the broader hip-hop community. His call for honesty and reconciliation feels almost surreal, especially given his own notorious history. It's as if, for once, Suge is the voice of reason in a case that gets messier by the day. Who saw that coming? But of course, nothing is ever as it seems in Hollywood, and the credibility of some of Diddy's accusers has already come under scrutiny. Take Rodney Lil Rod Jones, for instance. His attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, is reportedly under review by a federal disciplinary committee for allegedly using sensationalized accusations to pressure defendants into quick settlements. Blackburn's questionable tactics have cast doubt on the validity of Jones's claims, leaving many wondering, is this a genuine pursuit of justice, or are we watching an elaborate extortion attempt unfold before our eyes? And then there's Aubrey O'Day, the former Danity Kane singer who Diddy once managed. Her allegations, they go beyond mistreatment and dive into an almost dystopian narrative of grooming and intimidation. O'Day has stated that the emotional abuse she suffered altered the course of her life, claims that are difficult to ignore, especially given the power dynamics at play. The mistreatment is enough to change the course and the direction of my entire life. She further said, the mistreatment was enough for me to have to spend a good amount of time in the hands of professionals to learn what grooming is and unlearn the grooming. The treatment was so bad in some regards that I'm not ready to speak about it yet, but I will. Diddy, after all, was not just her manager, but one of the most powerful figures in the music industry at the time. How could she have stood up to him? Would anyone have listened if she had? While the allegations against Diddy are mounting, Hollywood's biggest stars are noticeably silent. Figures like Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg, and Justin Bieber, all of whom have been seen at Diddy's parties and events, have remained tight-lipped. This silence, too, speaks volumes. Could it be that they're waiting for more information before jumping into the fray? Or are they worried about becoming collateral damage in what feels like a sinking ship of a scandal? The stakes are high, and no one wants to be the first to throw a stone in a glass house. Still, amid all the chaos, some have chosen to remain loyal. One anonymous former employee was set to participate in the documentary but backed out at the last minute, allegedly out of fear. According to the source, working for Diddy comes with a lot of baggage, enemies who wouldn't hesitate to retaliate. I'm worried Diddy has many enemies. I'm afraid that if I give my thoughts on what I experienced, I may be ruled a target. I'm still on his side as far as my experience his enemies may come after me. East Coast versus West Coast still exists, the anonymous source wrote to TMZ producers. What does this say about the pressure and danger surrounding this case? If former employees are scared to speak, what kind of secrets are still hidden behind Diddy's empire? Mark Curry, another key figure in the documentary, took his allegations to the next level, claiming that Diddy physically abused him. But this isn't just hearsay. Curry's claims appear to be backed by some serious evidence. Federal authorities reportedly confiscated over 250 cameras from Diddy's home, and the footage they contained could be a game changer. If they have 250 cameras from his home, they have a whole bunch of images or footage of things that were going on in his house, Curry said. One can't help but wonder what is on those tapes. Is this the smoking gun that could finally bring Diddy down? Or will it, like so many other celebrity scandals, end up being swept under the rug? As the drama continues to unfold, one thing is certain. This case is far from over. Diddy's once glittering empire is under siege, and the world watches with bated breath. Will Diddy's legal team be able to navigate the storm, or are we witnessing the slow and steady collapse of a hip-hop titan? One can only sit back and wonder what twist will come next. Meanwhile, why are Diddy's friends cold and silent? Are they bigger suspects themselves, or what is the play here? Funnily, they are some of Hollywood's big shots, and now, surprisingly, they are quiet, and so rightfully asking, why are they silent? Hollywood big shots, silent on Diddy. Sean Diddy Combs, once the king of lavish parties filled with musicians, models, actors, and even royals, now finds himself locked up in New York's infamous Metropolitan Detention Center. He awaits a trial that could rock the foundation of Hollywood's elite. Despite this seismic shift, something peculiar is happening. Diddy's high-profile friends, Jay-Z, Jennifer Lopez, Usher, Naomi Campbell, and Justin Bieber, have remained eerily silent. Why aren't they speaking up for their friend, a man whose life seemed like one endless red carpet? In a society where celebrities are quick to take to Twitter and Instagram to air their thoughts on the latest scandal or trend, their silence is baffling. Is it fear, guilt, or is this just a strategic Hollywood move to protect their precious brands? Whatever the reason, their reticence speaks volumes. But before we arrive at the possible reasons as to why they are silent, let's rewind and understand a few dynamics around Hollywood. First and foremost, let's talk about what drives Hollywood. Reputation is the currency of the entertainment world, and nobody wants theirs to take a hit. In an industry where scandal can make or break a career, even a whisper of association with someone facing serious accusations like sex trafficking could be catastrophic. Eric Schiffer, CEO of Reputation Management Consultants, sums it up perfectly. He said, "Celebrities are silent because they are scared to death of their brands, bleeding out with fans over ties with Diddy, and worse, they fear if they cross him, things could end in disaster. Right now, it's all about self-preservation. Would you risk years of carefully building a public image for a single tweet defending a friend who might be guilty of heinous crimes?" Diddy's friends aren't just protecting their reputations, they're also avoiding retribution. Yes, Diddy might be in legal trouble, but he's still a powerhouse in the entertainment industry. His influence reaches far beyond music. He's built an empire across fashion, media, and business. Crossing him, even while he's in jail, could be career suicide. And with rumors swirling about freak-off videos being passed around the dark web, his friends might be afraid of being dragged into the scandal themselves. Could speaking up put a target on their backs? On a more personal level, this silence may be rooted in loyalty. Hollywood is notorious for being a tight-knit community where professional and personal lines blur. For people like Jay-Z and Usher, Diddy isn't just an industry peer, he's a friend. Turning their backs on him now could be seen as a betrayal, a move they may not be willing to make. This loyalty, however, is a double-edged sword. What happens when your friend is accused of something so dark and damning? Do you stand by them? Or is there a moral line that even Hollywood won't cross? Speaking of morality, not everyone is willing to let the silence slide. Megyn Kelly, for example, has been vocal about the need for Diddy's circle to speak out. In her podcast, she didn't mince words when she called out Justin Bieber, once Diddy's protege, for staying quiet. Bieber isn't implicated in any wrongdoing, but Kelly argues that if Bieber was ever a victim or knew about Diddy's alleged misconduct, he has a responsibility to say something. something. Justin Bieber. They're not alleging his name in any of this, but Justin was very young when he came into Diddy's circle, she said. She further mentioned, there's no question he had a lot of exposure to this guy, and I think he should say something. It's a statement that hovers in the air like the unspoken tension at a Hollywood after party. This silence is more than just a PR strategy. It says a lot about the cultural norms of Hollywood. In this world of glittering lights and relentless cameras, protecting one's image often trumps moral accountability. The decision to remain silent is less about the truth and more about survival. The scandal might blow over, but a tarnished reputation, that can haunt a celebrity forever. This raises bigger questions about the entertainment industry as a whole. How many other scandals have been swept under the rug to protect powerful figures like Diddy? What does it say about celebrity friendships when the stakes get high? But the pressure on Diddy's inner circle isn't going away anytime soon. As the trial looms closer and with every damning headline that gets published, the world is watching. Sooner or later, these celebrities will be forced to make a choice. Will they continue to stay silent, or will they finally speak out? If they do, will their words be those of condemnation or support? And if we're being honest, how genuine would those words even be? Would they be trying to distance themselves from Diddy, or are they merely playing damage control to save their own skins? Hollywood thrives on spectacle, and this trial will likely be no different. It's not just Diddy's fate on the line. The reputations of everyone who ever partied with him are also at risk. Let's not forget, Hollywood has a long history of forgiving its fallen stars. Just look at figures like Roman Polanski or even Harvey Weinstein who, despite their misdeeds, still have supporters. Could Diddy's friends be banking on the public eventually forgetting the details of this case, allowing them to quietly resume their friendship after the dust settles? The entertainment industry has short memories when it comes to the sins of its beloved stars, especially if they've made enough money for the right people. It's obvious Diddy's friends have decided to keep shush, and that may not change anytime soon. However, there's yet another layer to Diddy's case. Seriously, when will these claims ever end? A former neighbor of Diddy has fresh claims, and shockingly, these claims might be damning for Diddy's legal team. Rosie O'Donnell's fresh claims. Rosie O'Donnell's explosive revelations about her former neighbor, Sean Diddy Combs, have rocked the entertainment world, adding fresh layers to an already scandalous case. In a candid and near 10-minute TikTok video, Rosie didn't just spill the tea, she emptied the whole kettle, revealing personal anecdotes and strong opinions that could spell trouble for the hip-hop mogul. Diddy, now embroiled in a legal nightmare involving charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and kidnapping, could see his situation worsen in the court of public opinion and possibly in a real courtroom, all thanks to Rosie's fresh claims. The story begins on a peculiar but strangely relatable note. Sweatpants. Yes, sweatpants. Rosie recounted a New Year's Eve party where she and her family were personally invited by Diddy, only to be turned away at the door because of their casual attire. This moment, while seemingly trivial, has a certain irony that foreshadowed the more sinister revelations to come. Fast forward to the present day, and Diddy's glamorous facade has crumbled. With the rapper now facing charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, and kidnapping, Rosie, like many others, expressed her shock. Or do you just get to be so big like Harvey Weinstein did that he thought, well, I control Hollywood, I control the Oscars, I can sleep with any actress I want, whether they want to or not, she quipped. Yes, that Harvey Weinstein, convicted sex offender and the poster boy for Hollywood's #Me Too movement. Rosie didn't mince words when comparing the two, calling into question how someone like Diddy, who lives such a public life, could be involved in such monstrous activities behind closed doors. You think he could also be a rapist? What is he, Clark Kent? He gets in a cap and he is someone different, O'Donnell said. Give me a break. Too many people know him. Too many people would be involved. Too many people would have to participate in that in order for it to be true. Her comparison to Weinstein wasn't just to score a headline, but a chilling reminder that power and celebrity can conceal the darkest of deeds. But Rosie didn't stop there. She questioned Diddy's self-awareness in a way that only a comedian could. How can you not consider yourself a rapist if you're doing or participating in or filming or watching the rape? She asked bluntly. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's very disturbing. And then you start to think, how many people really knew that? Rosie was tapping into a larger conversation, one about how fame and wealth can shield people from taking responsibility for their actions. How many people, she wondered, had known about Diddy's alleged behavior and said nothing, just like those who had remained silent about Weinstein for years. Diddy's legal troubles took a major turn on September 16th when he was arrested in New York City, becoming a criminal defendant in a federal case. The charges against him are no small matter: racketeering conspiracy, sex, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transporting individuals for prostitution. These accusations carry a minimum sentence of 15 years, with life imprisonment on the table. It's not the kind of scandal that a PR team can sweep under the rug. Now, here's where Rosie's claims could make things even worse for Diddy. In an already highly publicized case, Rosie's words add fuel to the fire. Her name carries weight, and her TikTok revelations have thrust her right into the spotlight, likely drawing more attention to the allegations against Diddy. Can you imagine the jury pool after Rosie's video goes viral? She's already swayed public opinion, making it that much harder for Diddy to escape the shadows of these accusations. And let's not forget the bizarre details that have emerged from the raids on Diddy's homes in Beverly Hills and Miami. Along with narcotics, police discovered over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Yes, you read that right. Sex trafficking? That's serious, man. And then they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I'm gonna be thinking about that the rest of my life, Rosie joked. But there's an unnerving undercurrent to this strange find. It feeds the darker rumors about what really went on behind Diddy's closed doors, rumors that are no longer just tabloid fodder but part of a criminal investigation. Adding insult to injury, Diddy's legal team has been fighting tooth and nail to improve his detention conditions. His lawyers described the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn as horrific and not fit for pretrial detention. You almost want to feel a sliver of sympathy, right? But then you remember the charges, the potential victims, and those 1,000 bottles of lube, and suddenly that sympathy vanishes into thin air. Still, Diddy's repeated bail requests have been denied, which speaks volumes about the severity of the charges. The judge isn't budging, and neither is the media frenzy surrounding the case. Rosie's revelations aren't just gossip. They've become part of a larger cultural reckoning about power, privilege, and accountability in the entertainment industry. This isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about the systems that allow individuals to get away with anything as long as they have enough fame and money to cover it up. Rosie O'Donnell has done more than just raise eyebrows. She's potentially shaped the narrative of this case. Her neighborly experiences with Diddy may have started with sweatpants, but they've ended with a scandal that's threatening to bury the rapper under a mountain of legal troubles. The world will be watching as this saga unfolds, and one thing's for sure, Rosie's voice won't be drowned out. She's making sure of that. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.